It's the blending of 2D and 3D art, the series that I'm doing right now. Like old school Greek goddess sitting on a pedestal, but it looks like a photo shoot because there's a backdrop. The style is really masculine. There are no curved lines, everything's straight. And I like the combination of the masculine aesthetic with the feminine subject. My name is Jay Davis. I am an illustrator and fine artist based in Brooklyn, New York. I am 31 years old. Because it's new for me, honestly. I feel like a lot of life, you're uncomfortable. And the uncomfortableness makes you appreciate your comfort when it comes. So I'm okay with it. It's just a wave that I have to ride. Even outside of the art, it's in the choosing to be an artist. It's a really difficult thing to pursue. And it feels like it gets more and more difficult each day. Because to me, I think the challenge in becoming an artist is like, well, how do I use my art to tell the stories that I want to tell without being influenced by capital or other people or what's trendy or hot? I don't know. It's I think it's a form of bravery because not a lot of people want to do it. Not a lot of people have the strength to do it. And then not a lot of people have the strength to continuously show up because it is lifelong. That's what my dad taught me. Art is a lifelong thing. Being an artist is a lifelong thing. My dad was, but not in the way that I'm an artist. He wasn't a visual artist. Music was his art. So he was a drummer, he was a DJ. And then when he got older, he sort of like transitioned into graphic design. And I was like, whoa, it's my thing. Slow your roll. And that was really fun for us to be like kind of competitive in that way. Lovingly competitive in that way. But yeah, my father was the first artist that I knew. Like, he just made things. He was always making things. He made an album when I was like 10. And that was the first bit of his artistry that I experienced. Right before he passed last year, he was doing DJ sets here in New York City. And my sister and I got to experience that. And so I felt very full circle. I'm like, yeah, always been an artist. Yeah, will always be an artist, even though he's gone. I was raised here in New York by my mother's side of my family primarily. And my dad moved to Florida when he was like 23. And so we just had different perspectives. I would say more personally, outside of my art, my father is my biggest influence. Like aesthetically, he just sort of did what he wanted his entire life. Like, he looked the way that he looked his entire life. He had really long locks and he looked like an artist. He looked the part. For a really long time in my life, I didn't want to look the part because my mom would call me this thing when I was a kid, when I was in high school, and I first started pursuing art. She would call me a starving artist, and I was like, I don't want to starve. That was not appealing to me at all, especially because we grew up in a predominantly single-parent household. Like, I would see my father during the summers sometimes, but it wasn't easy. And I was like, I don't want to starve when I'm older. I want to be fruitful and have all these things. And yeah, I wasn't attracted to it, like the idea of looking like an artist. And then, you know, as I got older, as I graduated college, after art school and all that good stuff, I realized, like, it's in me. Like, what else am I going to look like? Like, it was inevitable. No, I feel more comfortable than I did 10 years ago. That's for damn sure. Like, I feel like I have a good head on my shoulders. I learn about myself more and more and more each day. And that's nice, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm not just walking around in this body, not really in touch with it, not really in tune with it, not in tune with my mind either. Yeah, I feel like me. I don't feel like I'm trying to be anybody else. And that's new for me because I feel like for a lot of my life, I was trying to be other people. And I think that stems from being a twin and a younger sister too. Like, I sort of just followed in my sister's shadow, her footsteps for a really long time. And now I don't feel like I'm doing that anymore. And that's really nice. I think for me, it's really important to spend time alone. It's really important to spend time alone. Because that's when you really learn who you are. Because you're not dependent upon anybody else. So I do that. Like I'm in a relationship, a really lovely relationship, but I need alone time because I know who I am. Like I would love to meld my life with this person, and I am melding my life with this person in a very beautiful way, but still, I have to know who I am. If I get lost, that's it. If I get lost in another person, that's it. I'm immediately uncomfortable. Alone time, therapy, shout out. Doing things that like make me happy, cooking meals, going on walks. Boxing class is also really nice. Pouring time and energy into other people, but also recognizing that I have to do the same thing for me. I feel like my main muse is music, but every once in a while, that infatuation with music gets disrupted by something else. And I've really been on this like kick of documenting in my style of art my favorite albums and my favorite artists. And there are a couple things that I've been working on that I haven't posted anywhere, just like they're just for me. I spend a lot of time here in my apartment listening to music while I'm cleaning or making meals or in the shower. Yeah, music is... And when my father passed away, it felt like I needed all of the music in the world. I just needed it. It was really healing for me to listen to music, and that has translated directly into my art. My palette is a red background, definitely. I gravitate towards blacks, charcoal, like dark black, orange, yellow. Yeah, that's my palette right now, and I work within that. But there are sometimes the thing that I'm working on, it doesn't call for that, right? Like that's not the energy that I'm trying to convey. And for that, I just sort of like let the piece tell me which colors to use. Sometimes being an artist, it's like you really are a vessel for your art. You essentially, it feels like this to me. I can't speak for every artist, but to me, it feels like the art will tell you. You just follow the art. So the color palette does change, but not too much. Not too much. It just depends on the piece. The rapper Doechii just released this album called Alligator Bites Never Heal. I'm really inspired by Doechii because she's an artist's artist, like your favorite artist's favorite artist. In her aesthetic, in the way that she raps, in the choices that she makes for her career. Like she's just art personified. And her album that just dropped is really smart. It's a great album. The production is really good. She experiments on the album. She takes risks, which I think a lot of people don't want to do or cannot do, especially in like more mainstream hip hop. Yeah, I've been bumping the album for weeks now. And every time I get obsessed with an album, I'm like, I gotta do a piece. I gotta do a piece. I gotta do it in my style. I got to. And so that's my latest piece that I'm really excited about. I need to go to the art supply store right after this. This just made me realize that I don't have the size of the marker that I need for the background. I am a woman of multitudes. Some of my work has been in the world. Corporate work though. Guerrilla style. No, I don't think so. Have I? No. But the personal work, that is a goal. My ideal show, solo show, is actually not in a gallery. It's in the city. Public art. It's my jam. Yeah. Okay, right now we are on our way to my favorite and the only art supply store in my neighborhood. This is the green that we're going for right here. I'm like deathly afraid to open this every time. Is this it? I feel like it's that one. I was like, don't break the glass, don't break the glass. They surprisingly have a lot of paint in them. I've never dried up a marker yet. Even the red that I use a lot. I can't believe it either. Ask the audience. $10 for this. What do we think? As an artist, I feel like you make the art for yourself first and foremost. In the age of social media, I don't want to. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure the artists that I'm interested in through my artwork, they're like bombarded with people like tagging them and like being like, hey, like, I did this thing. I was inspired by you. And I was inspired by them, but like, I don't need to reach out to them. I don't need. Now, if Doechii slid in my DMs today, would I respond? Absolutely. I would be like, oh, I've been waiting for you. But I'm like, you know, I'm not pressed. I'm not like itching for that. If I connect with any artist that inspires my artwork, I want it to be a little bit more natural and organic. So I post the art. I do tag them though, not tag them. I do the hashtag of their name. But that's it. Last January, after my dad passed away, I made a lot of art. A couple of months after that, it was the end of spring, the beginning of summer. Out of nowhere, I felt like I didn't have anything else to say. So I stopped making. I wasn't making anything. I wasn't making art. I wasn't even doing like my hobbies that I like to do, like crocheting and stuff like that. I just wasn't making anything. And at this age, I've learned that when that happens, I sort of just have to like live life. And whatever comes from that, I will put into my art. So yeah, I just lived the entire summer. It's like going out and doing things, deepening my relationship with the people in my life. Grieving my father too, like it was my first summer without my father. And in my childhood, I would see my father during the summers. And so I was just quiet. I was quiet for a really long time. And then people started asking about art. What are you making? How's your art going? And I'm like, ooh, I don't really feel like it. I'm not making anything. Like I'm making meals in my kitchen. And then I don't know, there was another shift. Like I expected it though, right? Like if you're away from your art for a while, you start to miss it and you start to realize that you do have stuff to say. Maybe not the things that you were expecting to say through your art, but you do have things to say or things to appreciate through your art, and that's still art. And then I was like, yo, you've been listening to a lot of music. I credit my partner, my boyfriend is like really into music, like really good music too. And we would be in here listening to music, making dinner or getting ready or just listening to music. In strengthening my relationship with my boyfriend, I strengthened my relationship with music. I was like, this is what I want to say through my art. I love music. And then it felt right. It also felt like an ode to my father. So it's kind of perfect. That's how it goes for me. I will say, if anybody's watching this that's interested in becoming an artist, do it. But I feel like people don't talk enough about how being an artist, when it's great, it's great. You're like, life is great. I feel so inspired. Everything's beautiful. I'm tapped into my creativity. When you're creatively bankrupt, it's awful. If I'm not making art, who am I? If I'm not making art, who am I? You constantly like question yourself, question your art. And that's not a bad thing, but it is a thing. And I need people to know that it's a thing. And it really is about riding that wave until you get to the next like bout of inspiration. Some people have the ability to work through it though. They're like, whatever, the art is gonna be bad, whatever. But others don't, and that's okay too. I don't make art, honestly. I don't. I'm just not interested in making a bunch of bad art for the sake of making art. I would much rather make art when I have a story to tell. Storytelling is really important to me in my artwork. And if I feel like I don't have a story to tell, I don't force it. I don't push myself. In hearing myself say that, I do recognize that that is a privilege, and I don't take that for granted. Like, I recognize that, you know, some people can't afford to just like stop creating. Art is art. They make it year round. And I've been that person before. I can relate to them. But in this season of my life, I don't do it anymore. I think because I also have other things to focus on, right? Like, I'm still young, but I'm not as young as I used to be. And so my priorities have realigned themselves. I have family that I have to take care of and spend time with and nurture those relationships. I have friends that I have to nurture relationships with. Like, I have to take care of myself outside of the art. My time is just shifting. Priorities are shifting. But still, I know no matter what happens, I'll go back to the art. Always. Yeah. Whenever I make something, I'm bringing something new to the piece. Like whether that be a new perspective or a new skill or something that I want to try technically within my art, I'm always bringing something new. Or a new color palette. And those are always like, aha, moments for me. Yeah, it's funny how you start a piece with one intention, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, this is not really where I thought it was going to go, but I'm happy that I landed here. That's always really nice to experience. And I find that does happen a lot. Some people prefer to be their own client. Some people prefer to make the art that they want to make. I respect that. But I also respect people who are like, no, I need clients. Like, clients bring in money. This is my livelihood. It's not for everybody. For client work, it really is all about asking questions in the beginning. I want to say when I was doing client work, 85% of the time the client didn't really know what they wanted. They knew that they wanted to hire an artist. They knew that they liked my style, but that was sort of it. Your job as the artist is to ask the client questions so that you can basically determine what the goal is for the work, what the outcome is for the work. From there, bring yourself to their level. I feel like clients really rely on artists for the vision. They always have a goal, but it is your job as the artist, as the creative, to sort of like bring out the vision. But then other times, that's not the case, right? Like, I've done 2 children's books, and working with an art director at a publishing company is different than working with a nonprofit organization. Very different jobs, very different language used, very different meetings that you go into. Some people are very used to working with artists, other people are not. And so it really depends on the client too. The one thing that I encourage when it comes to client work is to not lose yourself in the work. I think it's important to maintain who you are as an artist in the work and not compromise your vision, because it's easy to do, especially when somebody's like offering you money. There's a balance to it, right? Like, you can do all the things that the client wants you to do, accomplish all the goals that they want you to accomplish, but still remain true to yourself. I think that's the most important part. And maintaining and sticking to deadlines. Deadlines. Like, people take it seriously. If you can like meet your deadlines, people are like, oh, this is a person that I would love to work with again. If you're not meeting your deadlines, then your client's like, I can't really trust this person. They're not really reliable. On to the next one. It's true if they like your work a lot too, right? Like, when I was first starting out, there were people who loved my work, but I wasn't good with deadlines when I first started out, because I was like, well, I'm an artist. I'll get to it when I get to it. The work is taking me a little bit longer than I thought, but that's okay because I'm an artist. No. Or like, this is the deadline. Meet the deadline, please. We have like other things that we need to do. There are a couple of ways that one could get in contact with me. My Instagram is wooloverwater. I'm wooloverwater everywhere. You can email me at jaymakesbooks@gmail.com. And my twin sister and I have a tennis podcast called A Good Rally, and I feel like everybody that is watching this should listen to that. Available on Spotify. Season 2 drops in January.